Welcome to the Microeconomics series. And in this Microeconomics series 8, I'm going to discuss on production. We have already dealt with the demand part, the consumer satisfaction. And we all know in a market, we are more concerned or we are also concerned with the sellers or the producers. We all know now till date about the consumer behavior, about the consumer satisfaction, about the consumer demand. But now it's the time for the producers to be discussed. What do they do and how do they do? So in this production process, what is the requirement and what is the output or the result? Production theory is a study of production or the economic process of converting input into output. We see the inputs that the resources use. We all know what are the resources used: the land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Any product or goods or services to be produced requires these four factors of production, under which many things comes, either it is raw material or plant and machinery. And with the help of these inputs, through the production process, the output is the result of this input. That is the goods and services that are produced. Production function relates physical output of a production process to physical inputs or factors of production, and it is a mathematical function that relates the maximum amount of output that can be obtained from a given number of inputs. Generally, it is for easy description, a capital and labor are generally taken into consideration, though other factors of production are equally important. But to see the behavioral change in the input and output, we take only consideration of capital and labor. Though Q is equal to output, that is means Q stands for output, is a function of capital, labor, raw material, plant machinery. In a nutshell, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. And the production function describes a boundary or frontier representing the limit of output obtainable from each feasible combination of inputs. There are many feasible combination of inputs which a producer can have, and they see the amount of output obtained from each feasible combination of inputs, means amount of labor plus other factors of production. Then firms use the production function to determine how much output they should produce given the price of a good and what combination of inputs they should use to produce given the price of capital and labor. The production function also gives information about increasing or decreasing returns to scale and the marginal products of labor and capital. So we see that the production function means the transformation of input into output, and in the input we take into consideration the land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. The output can be varied: cars, houses, food, computers, edible items, clothes, any type of output, banking service, all the goods and services produced. But the inputs remaining the same: the land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. The nature of input may differ from industry to industry and services to services, but they will come under the dichotomy of land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Production function, as related to the time period, has been divided into two: short-run and long-run production function. Short-run production is a period of 1 year or less, while the long run, more than 1 year. In the short run, we vary only one factors of production, that is labor, while in the long run, all the factors of production are varied. So types of production function: short-run production function and long-run production function. In the short run, we see the returns to a factor. A factor is here generally treated as labor. If we change the labor as input, what is its effect on the output? While in the long-run production function, it is returns to scale. All the factors of production are varied, and we see what changes they bring to the scale of production. In the short-run production function, only one variable factor, while in the long-run production function, all factors are variable. The short-run production function is known as laws of variable proportion, while the long-run production function is called the laws of returns to scale. Law of variable proportion, as to in the previous slide, is related to the short-run production function. And in this short-run production function, we keep other factors or fixed factors, we should say. Apart from labor, all other factors of production are fixed and constant here. And the law of variable proportion states that if the input of one resource is increased by equal increment per unit of time, while the input of other resources are held constant, total output will increase, but beyond some point, the resulting output decrease will become smaller and smaller. That means if we increase the variable factor initially, it gives a increasing returns to scale, and after a certain time, it starts giving the diminishing returns to scale, which will be explained in the slides coming. Now, assumptions. This law of variable proportion is based on certain assumptions. So, apart from other assumptions, the main assumptions are that the technology is constant here, because if the technology will change, the law of variable proportion won't be justified. Factor proportions are variable. That means if factors of production are to be combined in fixed proportion, the law has no validity. All the units of variable factors are homogeneous. I mean, skill-wise, the labor should be in the same skill compartment. And this law operates in short run when it is not possible to vary all factor inputs or factors of production. This law of variable proportion has been explained with the help of concepts of product, total product, average product, and marginal product. With the help of these three products, this law has been justified also and explained also. Total product. Total product is the amount of total output produced by a given amount of the factors. Other factors held constant because we keep the fixed factors constant. So if there is 10 labors applied in a chair making industry and the 10 labors produce 100 chairs, then the total product is 100 chairs. Average product is the average product of factor is the total output produced per unit of the factor employed. That means if 100 chairs are being produced by 10 labor, then 100 divided by 10 is equal to 10. This is the average product. And the marginal product of a factor is the addition to the total production by the employment of an extra unit of a factor. So suppose if 10 laborers are producing 100 chairs, and if one more labor is added, then 11 chairs are producing 120 chairs. So the marginal product of that additional labor is 20. So this is the marginal product, that is addition to the total production by the employment of an extra unit of a variable factor. We can see also the units of labor increase as we see can 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 labors. The total product, the average product, and the marginal product. The behavior of average product and marginal product in this schedule is self-explanatory also, and through the graph also we are going to understand this very particular chart or this very table. We can see in this graph there are three stages of law of variable proportion: stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. The total product, the average product, and the marginal product. All the three graphs are depicted here. The total product graph is related to the marginal product behavior. We can see till point F in the stage 1, where the marginal product is maximum, total product is increasing at an increasing rate. After this point F, the total product starts increasing at a diminishing rate because the marginal product is declining. And at the end of stage 1, the marginal product and average product is intersecting, and the average product is at its maximum. In the stage 2, total product still increases at a diminishing rate. The average product is declining and the marginal product is also declining. At the end of stage 2, it becomes 0. Corresponding to this, the total product is at point H, is at its maximum, and once the marginal product becomes negative, it starts declining. The total product, you can say, this is diminishing. While the average product is still declining, but it never touches to 0 because it is average product. And in the stage 3, the marginal product becomes negative. This graph is also telling the same story about the stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. We'll see what the behavior, the total product, marginal product, and average product through the concept also and through the graph also. So in the stage 1, we see the behavior of total product first increases at the increasing rate, then at a diminishing rate. Yes, we see here also that in this graph, you can see in the stage 1, at point F, it is increasing at increasing rate. After point F, it is increasing at a diminishing rate. Then marginal product increases in the beginning, then reaches a maximum and begins to decrease. So we can see the marginal product is increasing and then after a certain point decreasing. Then the average product increases, continues increase and becomes maximum. Yes, at this stage, end of stage 1, average product is at its maximum. Stage 2, total product continues to increase at a diminishing rate and becomes maximum. Yes, stage 2, the total product at point H is at its maximum. Marginal product continues to diminish and becomes equal to 0. Yes, at the end of stage 2, it becomes 0. You can see this marginal product. And the average product equals to marginal product then begins to diminish. After the average product and marginal product intersection is there, the average product starts declining. And in the stage 2, you can see it is still declining. And the marginal product is at 0 at the end of stage 2. Stage 3, total product diminishes, marginal product becomes negative, and average product continues to diminish but will always be greater than 0. Yes, we can see in the stage 3 also, the marginal product is 0 at the end of stage 2 and becomes negative, while the average product is at its maximum at the end of stage 2, and point F, H is the maximum of the total product, and after this it starts declining because the marginal product becomes negative, and average product still declines, but it never becomes 0. So this is the story about the total product, marginal product, and average product. Now, the reason behind the law of returns to variable factor, if we say that there is stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, what is the reason? Because in stage 2, it is called the best possible zone. But before that, let me tell you about stage 1 also, and stage 2 and stage 3, all the stages. Because stage 1 is called the stage of increasing returns. Stage 2 is called the stage of diminishing returns. And stage 3 is called the stage of negative returns. So what is the reason behind that? The reason is, first of all, when we discuss it, one of the main factors behind the increasing returns to variable factor is the indivisibility of the fixed factor capital. That means we cannot divide it into smaller units. Take, for example, 100 acres of land. If there are 100 acres of land and we are applying 100 labors in it, with those help of 100 labors, only 50 acres of land is being utilized. So we cannot say that in the short term we'll only give the rent of 50 acres of land. We have taken 100 acres of land, so we are going to pay for the 100 acres of land. We cannot say the landowner that no, only 100 labor is there and only 50 acres is being cultivated, so I won't pay that amount. You have to pay. The fixed factors or the fixed cost of factors of production of fixed nature are going to be there. So what happens that as we add more and more of labor with the fixed factor, the utilization of fixed factor increases. That means, suppose the example which I gave, that 100 acres of land is there, we are applying 100 laborers. With the help of that 100 laborers, only 50 acres of land is being cultivated. So in that case, if we increase the labor, more land will be cultivated and you will get the increasing returns that will increase the production. So this is the reason of the increasing returns to scale. And if we see it as a separate increasing returns to scale, we see that in the initial stage, the fixed factors are abundant relative to the variable factor. The example which I have given you right now, that 100 acres of land are there, only 100 laborers are there, and which are cultivating only 50 acres of land. So the fixed factors are abundant relative to the variable factor. With the introduction of additional units of variable factor, it will lead to effective utilization of the fixed factor. Now, as we increase the amount of laborers, 100 to 150, 60, evidently production will increase at the increasing rate. Another reason for increasing returns to scale is indivisibility of the fixed factor. What is invisibility of fixed factor? That means due to technological requirement, a minimum amount of factor must be employed whatever be the level of output. We cannot divide the fixed factors into smaller units. Further, as we increase the labor, we have got a scope of introducing specialization and division of labor. We can divide the labors according to their skill and we'll get a good result because of that. Dividing the labor according to the skill will mean that those labor who are suited for a particular job will be given that responsibility, and as a result, the productivity will increase. We all know we are living in an age of specialization. Either it is a specialization vocational course or a specialization of work according to the skill of the workers, skill of the laborers. That increases the efficiency and that is also a cost reducing device, I should say. So sufficient quantity of variable factor introduces the case of specialization and division of labor, and with the specialization process, the productivity increases. Now there comes the turn of stage of diminishing returns. We have seen that in the stage 2, the total product keeps on increasing but at a diminishing rate. The reason behind for this diminishing returns is that marginal product falls and becomes less than the average product, which also sees a downward slope. As we start increasing the labor on that 100-acre land, after a certain point of time, after efficient utilization of fixed factor, the output starts diminishing because any further addition to the variable factor after the point of efficient utilization renders the fixed factor inadequate relative to the variable factor. Now, in the first stage, we saw the increasing returns to scale because there was abundant fixed factor as compared to the variable factor. As we started increasing the variable factor, the fixed factor became less as compared to the variable factor and the diminishing return started coming. So the contribution of extra variable input is actually nil. That means further that the fixed individual factor is being worked too hard. Fixed factors are overutilized. And this is the stage of diminishing returns. Now comes the third stage of negative returns, in which the marginal product becomes negative, coupled with a fall in average product, and the total product also starts diminishing. This is a stage where there is overcrowding of the variable factor, and now the fixed factors now are very less. Now if we increase the variable factor, there will be no coordination between the fixed factor and variable factor, and it will start giving the negative returns. Concluding the reasons for the law of variable proportion, we can see that increasing returns to a factor is due to better utilization of fixed factor, increased efficiency of variable factor due to introduction of specialization and division of labor, and indivisibility of fixed factor. Diminishing returns to a factor is due to optimum combination of factors and imperfect substitutes. We cannot substitute labor to land. And negative returns due to limitations of fixed factor, poor coordination between variable and fixed factor, and decrease in efficiency of variable factor because the fixed factor is very less as compared to the variable factor. Now comes the dilemma. We have seen the three stages. So what stage of production the producer should produce? The producer always prefers to produce in the stage 2 because in the stage 1 fixed factor is abundant to the variable factor, while in the stage 3 variable factor is abundant as compared to the fixed factor. And in the stage 1, if I say about the producer will never operate in that stage because generally we'll think that it is increasing returns to a scale. Why not operate in that stage? We cannot because the whole utilization of fixed factor is not there. The whole 100-acre land is being not utilized. There is a scope of further utilization which comes under the stage 2. While in the stage 3, as I told you all, there is no land left for any cultivation. So it is just futile effort to increase the labor because that will add to your cost and ultimately it will bring a loss to the producer. So the most rational stage of production is the stage 2 where there is optimum combination of fixed factor and variable factor. So now we have understood that stage 1 and stage 3 are not viable stages of production and they are this stage 1 and 3 are called stages of economic absurdity or economic nonsense. So a rational producer will always operate in the second stage of production where both average and marginal products tend to decline. At which particular point in this stage the producer decides to produce depends on the prices of the factors also. So in this session we came to know about the short-run production function, and in my next series we'll be discussing about the long-run production function, that is returns to scale. Till then, have a nice day. Thank you.